this video, we're going to find slope and the x and y intercepts from a linear function. So here we have an equation, y equals negative 3x plus 4. The first thing we notice is that it is written in slope-intercept form. So when an equation is written with y equals mx plus b, we know the number in front of the x, m, is the slope, and we know the number after the x term is our y-intercept. So that's fairly easy. It's not something you have to calculate. So in this equation, y equals mx plus b. We know that the slope is negative 3. That's our rate of change. Up 3 and then over to the left 1. So it's a negative slope. We know 4 is our y-intercept. So that's where it crosses the y-axis. If we were to write an ordered pair for this, it would be 0 on the x-axis and 4 on the y. Every single x coordinate on the y-axis is 0 because we're not going left to right. So any y-intercept would have 0 for the x. And now we have to find the x-intercept. So this we have to do a little bit of calculation. So the rules are, the steps are substitute 0 for y because every single y coordinate on the x-axis has 0 for the y because you don't go up or down. So we're going to substitute 0 for the y, and then we're going to solve for x. So I have to get the x by itself, so I'm going to get rid of the number term first by doing opposite of positive 4 is negative 4. Those cancel. I'm left with negative 4 equals negative 3x. Okay, I have to get rid of the negative 3 in front, so I'm going to do the opposite operation. So I'm going to divide by negative 3. They cancel, so I'm left with x equals negative divided by negative is a positive. And I have 4/3 or 1 and 1/3. So our x-intercept is 1 and 1/3. If we were to put that into an ordered pair, we know that the y-coordinate is 0. So one way I like to give a visual for this is I make a little t-table. We know when x is 0, this is our y-intercept. When y is 0, we know this is our x-intercept. So that visual might help you to remember that. All right, let's do a couple examples. So notice in this first problem that it's not in slope-intercept form. Our y is not by itself. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to highlight what I have to move. I have to get rid of that for the y to be by itself. So how do we do that? We simply do the opposite of 2x is negative 2x. So they're going to cancel, so I'm left with y equals our variable part first, and then our number part second. So now it's in slope-intercept form. So we know that our slope then is going to be the number in front of the x, so that's negative 2. We know our y-intercept, I'll write it y-intercept this time, is going to be negative 4. So we know the ordered pair would be 0 for x and negative 4 for y. Again, that simply states that it crosses the y-axis at negative 4. And now our x-intercept has to be determined by substituting 0 for y and solving for x. So you have to remember those steps. So I have to get the x by itself, so I'm going to do the opposite of negative 4 is positive 4 on both sides. So I'm left with 4 equals negative 2x. All right, I have to get rid of the negative 2, so I'm going to divide by negative 2. Those cancel. I'm left with x equals positive divided by negative is a negative. 4 divided by 2 is 2. So our function, or our line, if we were to graph it, crosses the x-axis at negative 2. So x is negative 2 and y is 0. All right, let's go ahead and solve this one. So in this problem, I don't have the y by itself, so I know I'm going to have to move this, and I'm going to have to move the coefficient in front of the y. So there's going to be 2 steps. Okay, well, we don't like fractions in an equation. So in order to get rid of the fraction, I want to get rid of the denominator. So I'm going to multiply everything by 2 because that's what the denominator is. So now I'm left with negative 3x times 2 is negative 6x. 2 divided by that 2 is 1. And then 1 times that numerator, it's still 1, or 1y. Now we don't need the 1 in front, so if you want to get rid of it, that's fine. And then 2 times 1 is 2. So now this equation looks like this. So now we're going to get rid of this part. The opposite of negative 6x is positive 6x. They cancel. I'm left with y equals our positive 6x plus 2. Do not combine the number term and the variable term because they aren't the same. Remember your rules for combining like terms. All right, so now I know my slope is 6. I know my y-intercept is the 2, so it's going to be 0, 2. And I have to figure out my x-intercept. Now, if you wanted and you weren't sure how to do the calculation, remember, you can graph this equation on a coordinate plane, and you can see where the line crosses the x-axis. It just might not be exact. It might be in between 2 points. So this is a foolproof way when you calculate. So I'm going to substitute 0 for y. So 0 equals 6x plus 2. All right. Negative 2 on both sides. So I'm left with negative 2 equals 6x. All right, divide by 6. So x equals negative divided by positive is a negative. And then 2 6 can be simplified to 1/3. We always simplify fractions. So we know our x-intercept is negative 1/3. So we wouldn't have seen that on the graph. We wouldn't have known exactly where that was. And of course, our y-coordinate is 0. So hopefully this helped you. You have to practice, though, to get good at it.